Hi, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Seth, and this is
The Forever Young Show.
The most powerful force in this world is a woman who knows who she is, why she is here, and what she wants to accomplish.
And that's where self-care comes in. As a woman, it is my opportunity and my responsibility to take care of me.
Self-care for your mind.
Self-care for your body.
Self-care for your money.
Our mission is to serve women as they fulfill their irreplaceable roles in families, society, business, the fabric of humanity.
So let's get this show on the road.
Why did you want to come on our podcast? Why did you say yes?
Because I feel like I have a message for women that needs to be heard. And I love sharing it. And I love when women listen and then change their life.
Honestly, that's why I asked you to come on because, I've followed you on Instagram for so long and just seeing your light and who you are, how you give people permission to be themselves and show up and just be them. I think that's a gift that a lot of women need. So.
Thanks for asking me to be on your podcast.
Well, and there's a short list. There's a short list of, as we're starting the show, I'm like, Steph, who do you want to be on the show? And she's like, boom, 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 boom. I want Get Out Girl. In fact, I will tell you, I didn't even really know your name for the longest time. Not that she didn't say it, not that you don't have a name. We are all named. And I'm sure I'd heard Brittany, but it was just like, so are you getting together with Get Out Girl?
Well, I think some of that was because I have a sister named Brittany. And so it's easier just to be like, get out there, girl, Brittany,
Yeah, get out there, girl. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it's also because that was the first thing that I saw on your Instagram was get out there, girl. And I'm like, who is this? And so that really hit me and I've just kept it.
You're not the only one. I've gotten asked, I'm like, oh, are you Get Out There, girl? And often they say, get out, girl, like you did, Seth.
Thanks for just kind of smoothing over that.
But yeah, that's the whole purpose. I think now I'm trying to lean more into making sure people know who I am, my name, because of the self-compassion side that I'm doing. But my overall message is, get out there.
We're honored to have you here.
Thanks. I did an interview last night with a girl named Addie Herman, and I would love to introduce you guys to her, and you guys could interview her if it's a good fit. You could look her up. I'll send you her Instagram so you can check her out and see if you think it's a good fit. So she has won the world championship in obstacle racing, and she's been on American Ninja Warrior 4+ times. And I think she actually won this one that's coming up, that they haven't aired it yet. It's coming up in a couple weeks. So she signed a non-disclosure, but she's like, I'm going to get a lot of publicity after it airs.
Okay, we need to meet with her next week then. Brittany, I'm not going to refer to you. Get out there, and let's do it before the onslaught.
I'll send you her. I'll connect you guys. How about that? I'll create 2 messages and introduce you guys to her. She was phenomenal to interview. She's only 18 years old, and the wisdom that she has, she wants to public speak and spread her message. Her motto is persistence over perfection. And she's wonderful. So I'm like, girl, preach. Everybody needs to have you on their podcast. So I'll connect you.
Soundbite.
That's definitely something I've worked on. I've struggled with my whole life is, feeling like I have to be perfect and allowing myself, even a lot of people don't realize this, but me showing up without makeup on, I have makeup on today, but me showing up without makeup on is so huge. As a teenager, there were so many times, things that were said to me that made me feel like I couldn't even leave the home without makeup on because I had acne or different things like that. So yes, that perfection piece is a big one.
Yep.
Well, now we're here today. We're breaking generational curses.
I would love to hear you talk about your most recent retreat, dog-sledding.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. How cool is that?
It was incredible. It really was. So I've been dog-sledding 4 times now. And I thought this one would just, be like, do I really want to do it again? I really hesitated booking it. And then my husband was like, why not? And I had I probably had 6 women approach me and say, "Please do it. Like, we really love it." And in the past, it had sold out so quickly. Like, we're talking 3 minutes. The retreat sold out before. So I was like, "It is my most popular one. Maybe I should do it again, even though this will be my 4th time going." Can it still be as magical the 4th time as it was the first time? And absolutely, like it was incredible. And what made it incredible, like the dog sledding was awesome and
Mhm.
magical in itself because it's such a beautiful location and it's such a fun, unique experience. But the women, this group of women were incredible, and to like get to know each one of them and to hear their stories. And every time I have a retreat, I walk away and I'm like, man, women are good. Like,
Mm.
just really good, and make me a better person with, our conversations and the connection that happens. And it was I haven't laughed that hard in a really long time. It was so fun. And then, it's just a good mix of laughing until you're going to pee your pants, and then also like being vulnerable and, getting a little teary eyed because, something you're sharing something so personal, and having other women share their personal things too. And it's just awesome. Retreats are, I don't know. I wouldn't want to live without retreats.
I've definitely, been on the pursuit to go on one of your retreats, and, one day the
I'm
stars will
launching my
align.
backpacking one soon. So I don't know
She
if
keeps
you'll be in
she
town.
talks about it every single day. If you just so you know, like she's already waitlisted herself. She's like, well, you know, and I'm like, awesome. This is awesome.
That makes me happy. I hope you
Yeah.
come.
Me too, me too. I watch you do these, and I can tell that there's so much good that happens, and I'm like, "I want a piece of that."
Mhm. The
I said,
backpacking one is awesome too because it's so unplugged. Like, there's no
Mhm.
internet connection, there's nobody else, like, it's just you and nature, and it's pretty awesome.
And I love nature, so
well, I think
Yep.
she's already waitlisted herself for dog sledding. She is hoping that you don't say, "Oh, we did 4, we're done," because this girl, honestly, there were tears shed, and there was emotional trauma's not the right word, but there was
Mhm,
there was mourning. There was mourning when she realized that with the scheduling, she was going to be, we were going to be on business across the
Mhm.
country. We were in Nashville. Was that when we were in Nashville? I think
possibly.
so.
Yeah, I think it
And
was.
she was not going to get to go on this dog sledding trip.
Yeah.
She said, I've been waiting for this trip. So it will be magical for this lady when it happens next year. So
Well, if I do it, then you're coming. If I don't do it, then I didn't I give you the information? You guys should go. Take your girls.
Yep.
It's
yeah, we could do that too. I think she should go with you first. That way you can get all the peeing of the pants done and we can go and we just get that business done when we're there.
that's fair. That's fair.
I think any retreat that I could go on with you and the other women, though, I think will be absolutely incredible. So,
Yeah, you would add a lot of value to it, so I hope you come.
thank you. I appreciate that.
So I want to go to the cold hard part, like the dog sledding itself. Like take us through this. Where were you? What was it like? Like how easy was it? Like how hard was it?
Oh, it was a piece of cake. It was awesome. So we had a guide company who they have over 200 dogs that they keep at their kennel, and they rotate the dogs, and the dogs are living their best life. Like, they really do treat the dogs like kings and queens. They have a really amazing diet that they show you and walk you through everything so
Mm,
you can see how everything's handled at they call it a kennel. The dogs all have guides, is what we call them. They have it like a trainer in charge of 20 dogs, and they rotate the dogs. And there are certain dogs that can be next to each other and dogs who can't be next, like can't even be on the same team. And there's certain dogs that are good at leading, and some dogs that are good in the middle, some dogs that are good at like keeping them, because they try to stay on it's like driving a car, like you stay on the right side of the trail.
Are you talking about dogs? Or are you talking about kids?
Dogs, oh,
Like
my kids are
like
not any of those
like dogs that
things.
you can't put next to each other and like
Oh,
one dog
okay, yes,
barking to
those
another
things.
dog. Are you breathing my air kind of dogs?
So dogs are a lot like kids, turns out. Yeah, it's fun. So sled has about 12 to 14 dogs, and then you have 2 sleds attached to those 12 to 14 dogs, and you have 2 women on each sled, and you just kind of hop back and forth. So one woman gets to ride in the sled and like be bundled up with a blanket and everything and just sit and enjoy and look around. And then the other woman is standing up driving the sled, and it's awesome. It's so fun. So it's really easy. You have a guide on each sled, and so the guide helps you steer and teaches you how to drive it,
Oh,
and then so you ride the sleds to hot springs. It's called Granite Hot Springs, and in the winter you can only get there by snowmobile or dog sled. And it's just these natural giant hot springs that fill up every single day and then drain every single day. And they have
wow.
changing rooms, and then while you're soaking, the guides are making you a hot lunch. You get out and change back into your snow clothes, go eat your amazing hot lunch, and then you dog sled back. It's like the perfect day.
Sounds like it.
A little bit of heart, a little bit of pampering, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of pampering. A lot of pampering, a lot of adventure.
Oh, I love it. And I saw that, you did another was that a headstand in your sled?
Yep. Yeah, I started that a couple years ago where I was like, okay, now my thing is to do a headstand in the sled. So that's
I love
it's a
doing
way to be
headstands,
silly.
so yeah, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do a headstand with her."
N
So when I go, whether it's with you or not, I will do a headstand and
That's
send it to you.
perfect. I'll plan on it.
Well, I'm just gonna hurry up and do it because otherwise I'm just gonna take her anyway. I know that's no offense to you, but it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It
It
is.
sounds
It is
amazing.
amazing. It's such a good experience, and the guiding company that we go with, they even provide you with boots that go down
Mm,
to like -30 degrees, so like your feet
nice.
can stay warm, and it's just the best experience. It's so well taken care of and well thought out that it
And where was this?
so it's just outside Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Okay. And you went in March?
Uh-huh, and there was still plenty of snow. We actually had perfect weather this time. I've been in January, February, and now March. And March was probably my favorite because it was sunny, but it was still cold and there was still plenty of snow. So it worked out pretty great.
What's the name of the guide company? Just so everybody listening can go hurry and book that right now.
It's
Get
called
there.
Jackson Hole Iditarod.
I was thinking the whole word that's been in the back of my mind is Iditarod. There it is.
Are you
Jackson.
serious?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Wasn't sure if you were just trying to be funny.
No, no, seriously. I was thinking Iditarod.
Uh,
Awesome. I can't wait. Sounds amazing. And we love hot springs.
Mhm.
Of course, it's Steph will do a headstand or some sort of yoga pose because wherever we go, last week's episode, by the way, was on yoga, right? Hot yoga, acro yoga, whatever. Everywhere we go, we're in the glaciers of Alaska, and she's pulling out yoga poses.
That's awesome.
have you ever tried yoga, Brittany?
Uh-huh. Yeah, my gym does yoga on Wednesdays. I try to make that one possible. It's not a long, it's just like at the end of the workout class, they spend 20 minutes doing it. And I always say I need more in my life, and one of these days I'll add more than that, but for now that's pretty great.
Well, I will have to say if your husband's up for it, partner yoga is out of this world.
Oh no, no, it is truly amazing. You're talking to a gentleman. I'm going through the conversion process to become a yogi. Um, when we got married, she was already into yoga. I'd done yoga over the years here and there, but pretty much done more not than doing it. But intuitively, I know it's something super good for me. Right? It's kind of one of those things. It's kind of like Brussels sprouts for people, or broccoli, or liver, right? Or as our little 6-year-old calls it, livered. Do you want? So I don't want any livered. Um, but I made a goal just kind of out of the blue. I didn't even tell Steph because yoga has been on my. You need to incorporate this into your life over the last year and a half. And I've been super active in some of the other areas in my
Mhm.
athletics side of my life and my weight training, but I kind of left that yoga piece off conveniently. Um, and then
Except for that one day. So for date night, we like to switch, like who plans it. And so sometimes, I do things that I normally wouldn't do because he planned it or vice versa. And so I was like, we're doing yoga tonight. And that was That was quite an experience for him.
Yeah, acro yoga, like that's called acrobatic yoga. Basically, imagine doing the hardest things you've ever done with balance, with somebody on top you're holding up who can fall and smash you. Not that you're smashing quality, but I mean you're just it's called gravity. Um, talk calf strains, muscle strains, pulling quads. I mean, all kinds of danger in tights, right? I wore shorts
That
over.
that's funny
My
because I was
husband and
gonna
I did it probably 14 years ago when we lived in DC. We went to a silks class, trapeze class, and part of the class was the acro yoga. And so we have a couple pictures of us doing the boat, and we were awful and we laughed so hard. I feel like part of it was an ab workout from laughing.
that's when you know it's the best. You
Mm.
had a good time.
But I will say that was one of the best dates we've ever done. Like I walked out of there super pumped. We had a great instructor. We had
Mhm.
one-on-one, well, one-on-two, help and coached us through and we made it, we made it happen. I can't wait to go back actually and do it again. I can't believe it's been that long.
That's
But I was going
awesome.
to say that I made a commitment and we are on day, let's see, 43, 44, 45. Today's 46. Today will be day 46 straight of at least a yoga session every single day that I've done.
Wow.
And
That's impressive.
I
I
know.
I'm I'm loving it so much. So much. It is way more than I thought it would be for me. Um yeah, it's been cool. We've done a lot of them together, but whether we're together or not, like every single day, everybody in this house knows that Dad is going to dedicate some time to breathing, meditation, yoga, balance, stretching. And it's not long, 10 minutes to 20 minutes, right? But it's every single day, and it man, it makes me feel amazing.
Good
He's got the
job.
bug.
Congratulations. That's awesome. 46 days that's impressive.
It really is. I've never done it that long, so now I'm like, "Oh, what do I wanna do for 100 days?"
As you've done these, you've got a backpacking retreat coming up in July. You're
Mhm.
going to be going backcountry. I mean, you're hiking 30 miles. Is that what I heard?
Yep, we're going in Teton National Park.
Oh my goodness. The
But
Tetons are amazing.
yeah.
It's one of my favorite places on the planet. It reminds me a lot of Switzerland, and it's just everywhere you look, it's beautiful.
So you're going to do 30 miles. Like, walk us through the trip. You have guides who are carrying your backpacks for you. Do you have dogs carrying your backpacks for you?
Unless Stephanie wants to bring you. No.
Oh, I'll bring the horses. I'll bring the horses, and I'll bring a pack train. Right.
No, we carry our packs. Your pack will weigh between 30 and 40 pounds, so it's pretty heavy. But the good news is you only have to carry that the first like 9 miles in, and then we set up camp and we'll stay at that camp the rest of the days. So then for the remaining hikes, we just will carry a small day pack. So that's just, your water and a couple snacks in it. And then the last day, the third day, then we'll take down camp and then have to carry that 40-pound pack the 9 miles out. But it's a lot of miles, but it's the amount of miles that makes you feel accomplished, like you're proud of yourself after those hikes. Especially the second day, we hike up to Hurricane Ridge, which is the top part that you can actually hike to without like canyoneering gear and that kind of stuff. And it's just this like flat ridge that has the three Tetons in a picturesque place where we all take our jumping photo there, and it's like I went to the Tetons. And that's a tricky longer hike, and when you get to the top of that ridge you're like, wow, like you're proud. And I think that's one of the crowning moments on the retreat is that Hurricane Ridge. But all of the hikes are beautiful. And I think the most that we'll do in one day is probably 11 miles.
And so what's the chow wagon look like? You eating dehydrated or freeze dried foods kind of a thing? Like you're taking your little gas stoves, your little hyper lights and
Yep, yep. I'll send all
yeah.
the women a packing list, and that's what it will include: the dehydrated meals and your little little camp stove type of thing, and just as light as you can bring a water filter so that you don't have to carry water for 4 days, but you can just fill it up in the stream in the water and replenish that, and then just any snacks and candy that you want. It's nice if you bring a buddy, then you can share your tent with, and then kind of split the tent weight between your 2 packs. Somebody can carry the actual tent, somebody can carry the poles, and then you can share like those dehydrated meals. Some of them are pretty big for one
Mhm.
person. And so that can cut down on your weight, and just like little tips and tricks like that if you want to spread your weight out. But otherwise, like I've gone before where I've carried everything, and it's totally doable.
Brittany, what are you most passionate about right now?
Right now, I'm most passionate about self compassion. I have spent a lot of time focusing on getting women outside and adventuring outdoors. And that is definitely one of the pillars of Get Out There Girl, and what I still will continue to yell from the rooftops. But I wrote a workbook a couple years ago about self compassion. And as I've sold, hundreds of copies, I've heard the feedback from women and how life changing it is, and so I wanted to get it in the hands of more women. And so recently I made videos. So I turned it into an online course instead of just a workbook. And it was hard for me because I was scared of getting behind the camera and making videos. And so for years I've wanted to do it, and I've known I needed to do it, but it just took me getting over that fear and being like, I'm just going to go for it. And so getting that done is pretty exciting for me, and to be able to offer that avenue to women so that they can do it at their pace, and have me actually sit down and guide them
Mm.
instead of just doing it alone with a workbook. I'm really excited to kind of hold women's hands and guide them through that, and to actually start doing some coaching calls with the women who sign up for the course. That's going to be part of it too. So anyway, I'm just really excited to up my self-compassion game, and reaching more women, and teaching more women that skill that is completely transformative.
Yeah, I've enjoyed watching little snippets of you doing it. Also, just seeing the different content that you put out there on Instagram is where I follow you. Just how I resonate with a lot of them, and how it's really helped me to have more self compassion for myself, and makes me want to go and I tell other people about it, or I send it to them, and let them know how amazing they are and how amazing you are, and how this could really help them and benefit their life.
Oh, thanks for sharing. I think every human needs self-compassion. There are times when I tell my husband, like, you need it. And my teen daughter the other day, I was like, Hallie, like, let's talk about some self-compassion right now. So I think every human needs it. I've just been focusing specifically on women at this point.
Well, I'm really excited. Have you launched that yet?
No, I haven't. I've just been getting the final details and tweaks and everything on the website, but it's close.
What
Great.
is the website? Where can people find that? Pardon me. Where can women who are going to get self compassion going to go, and where are men who don't really actually offer as much self compassion as they should not go?
So it's getouttheregirl.com, and
Okay.
it'll live there.
Where did this originate? Like, why? Like, where's the seed? We're looking at the fruit here. We're looking at the tree growing, and you're nurturing. But where'd the seed come from?
I grew up severely, I say severely, competitive person, because my competitive nature actually got in the way a lot. Instead of aiding me and helping me be successful, it was to the point where if I didn't win, then I beat myself up, and I saw it as a bad thing. And so my competitive nature took a bad turn, I guess I would say. I wanted to be successful, I wanted to be high achieving, and I thought that I had to pick myself apart and be hard on myself in order to motivate myself to reach my goals, and to be a successful high achiever. And so I just developed that inner critical voice where everything I did wasn't good enough, and and it was all in the sake of motivation. And it wasn't until I had my third baby and I sunk into postpartum depression. I wish I had had my hormones checked after her, knowing what I know now, but I'm positive my hormones turned off, and I sunk is a good word to describe it. And I got suicidal. I thought that the world would be better without me. I thought that I couldn't do it anymore. The pain was so severe that I was just like, I'm tired of fighting and I'm tired of losing this battle. And I just don't think I can do it anymore. And when I shared that with my husband, he was shocked. He knew that I had been depressed, but he didn't know that I was having those type of thoughts. And so he urged me to get help. I saw a therapist, and after, talking her through where my mind was mentally and, throughout my life and kind of sharing my story with her, she was like, Brittany, I think you should learn something called self-compassion. And I was like, what's that? She gave me a book, and it's called Self-Compassion by Kristen Neff. It's a fabulous book that I recommend to everybody. And at first, when she was telling me about it and how it meant, I treated myself like a good friend and I was kind to myself and I wasn't harsh or critical. I was like, that's not going to work. Like, there's no way. That's just fluff. That's like a participation trophy. Uh,
The competitors coming out right now. You're like, give me a break.
I really
That's
did. Like, I just kind of laughed at her and I was like, I don't think that's going to work. That's not for me. I'm not going to pat myself on the back when I don't deserve it. And she was patient with me and she was like, just try it. Read the book and try it and see what the results are. And so I told her I would give it a chance, and I read the book and had several eye-opening experiences while reading that book and started trying it. And it was amazing to me, the results and how quickly the results happened. It was like immediately. It wasn't natural to talk to myself in a kind way, but when I did, I immediately reaped the benefits. And so it was like, I just like this morning, actually, I had the thought of, Instagram. Instagram for me has kind of been a struggle lately. And so in the shower, I'm, thinking about everything that I have to do and my Instagram and how I haven't been growing and how I hate posting reels and all of these different things. And I just started being critical, like, "Ugh, I should be at this size by now. I should be at this many followers or all this effort that I put in. It hasn't been going." And just like thing after thing after thing, I'm just, kind of belittling myself and the progress that I've made. And as soon as I recognized that I was doing that, I was like, wait, Brittany, like, give yourself some credit. You know nothing about Instagram. You're learning as you go. You're doing it by yourself. Like, you've actually come a long way. Think about all the things that you've learned and the progress that you've made and give yourself some credit for that. And then stop. Like, you don't need to go anywhere further than you don't need to take the conversation further than that. And as soon as I did it, my shoulders dropped, my body relaxed, my mind cleared, I got some peace. And I was like, that feels true. And that's actually also motivating for me to continue to improve. When you belittle yourself, it pushes you down. And so you can't succeed. You think that being critical is, a harmless crime that doesn't affect anybody else. It's only affecting you. And so it doesn't matter and it's innocent. But the truth is it affects you and it affects all of your relationships. And as soon as you start being kind to yourself, it's actually incredibly motivating, and it's the true motivation that gets you to achieve those high goals and gets you to be successful. And you honestly can't be successful without it, not long term. You might hit a few goals here and there, but it'll plummet at some point. You won't have the stamina to keep up unless you're kind. And so back to my story of how I started realizing all of this and started seeing the effects of it and was blown away. And so I tried to learn everything I could from that point on about self-compassion. And so that was 10 years ago. I just started, reading everything, listening to everything. And several years ago, it just came to me. It was like, I should create like a condensed workbook to help women start their journey of self-compassion, because you can read a book, and it's thick and you've got to put some effort into it and stay with it. But I thought, if I could make a digestible workbook that gets women to learn the principles of self-compassion, but also like guides them through uncovering their own critical voice and gets them to start recognizing it. Because most of the time we're so busy, we don't even recognize when we're being mean to ourselves. We don't even recognize it. And when you start recognizing it, you're like, holy cow, it's actually, I mean to myself a lot. Like it's several times a day. And and so that was the goal behind the self-compassion workbook. Put everything that I knew in it, put all the resources that I had learned from in the book, and then create journal opportunities and prompts and different things for women to understand themselves. And I truly felt guided with it. Like I know that sounds kind of silly, but it's something that I'm really proud of and grateful that I pushed through. And when I doubted myself and I was like, who am I to put together a workbook? Like I just learned about this, 5 years ago. Why would I write a book? But I feel like if I can help somebody else learn what I've learned and to have the same transformation that I have had, then it's worth all the blood, sweat, and tears that I've put into it and putting myself out there and being vulnerable in this way and sharing my story. I hope it helps. I hope it helps somebody else.
I actually bought your book and I'm excited to dive into it. And so when you launch this new program, are you going to have a workbook? Are they going to do the workbook and have the online, or how is that going to work?
Yes, yes. So, how it works is you can get the workbook in a PDF version so you could print it off yourself, or you can have, like, I have one sitting right here. You can have me send you one that's already printed out. And then what it will do is it'll have a video for each day of me walking you through it. I share a lot of my story in the workbook already. And so I just add more like recent stories and more experiences that I've had. And so it's kind of just like me walking you through the workbook essentially. So you'll still do everything in the workbook, the 15 days, but you'll just have me in the video holding your hand while you journal and while you read through everything and complete it.
I love that you're doing that you're adding that piece. Like for me, I have a hard time reading books in general. And then also going through it is a little hard for me, knowing that I'm going to have that personal touch of you walking me through it and having other stories to go along with it. I think will add a lot to it.
Good, good. Another part of the course will be coaching sessions with me, group coaching sessions, so that if you get hung up on anything, then you could join me on a call and we'll walk through it, and you can tell me an experience that you're going through right now, and I can help you apply the principles of self compassion to that specific instance, and you can hear from other women and what they're going through, and so I'm really excited to add that portion to the workbook as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
I think one of the most powerful numbers I've ever seen, stats coming out of the business world or out of the social side of our lives is regarding women is this, that women are 68% more likely to achieve their goals when they have community.
Mhm.
And I could probably, I'll ad lib there, and coaching, but that's exciting. Literally, as you were taking us through the story, I super keyed in on the competitive side. I could spot that, because that's me, right?
Yes,
That
it is.
Related
is
to that.
me.
Oh my goodness, he'll go out on the field with like, I don't know, a bunch of, teenagers or young adults, and you can't tell that he's going to be 50 this year because he is so competitive and he's really good. It's amazing.
That's how I've grown up. But you talk about being critical of yourself. I think about coaches growing up. I think I was a coach. I coached basketball for a decade and a half through all our kids, through all their rec leagues, and loved it. I was not that critical coach. I was the compassionate coach for my team, not for the refs. I dare say that I don't know. I don't. There aren't 10% of the refs that don't have bad feelings toward me, because I was very vocal about our about our stance. But I can really relate, I guess is what I'm saying, to the competitive side and the picking out what's wrong so you can improve side, right? I mean, that's not all rooted in negativity or misplaced, but it can be very detracting to one's soul. And so as you're walking me through this, and I'm listening to the story, and then when you talked about when you applied some self-compassion. I was going to ask you, what are some of the principles? How do you apply this? And you walked us through. I honestly, like, I felt a release. I
Mm,
felt like wow, that that feels good. And if it feels good, guess what? If it feels good and is good, you're going to want to do
More.
more of that, and all of a sudden you got better. So it is super helpful for competitive people because they can cycle up faster and get better, so they can go out and win. Let's not forget what it's about, right? No,
Oh, whatever.
but you talk about the sustainability, like sustainability of success or significance, or making a difference. Forget about how skilled you are. If you're not happy, if you don't love you, then we really have missed the mark.
mhm. Yeah, women walk around stressed and anxious and feeling like they're not enough and they need to do more, and but they don't know
Mhm.
how they're going to fit in more because they're already doing so much. And so when you walk around with that all day every day, it's exhausting. And when you think about, setting a new goal and reaching a new goal, it's like, I don't know if I have it in me. But when you apply self-compassion, then suddenly it's like, oh, no, I can. And because you're not so scared of failure. There's a quote in my book by Tara Brach, and it's kind of the quote that made it all click for me. And it was, self compassion doesn't release us from the responsibility of our actions. Rather, it releases us from the self hatred that keeps us from responding to our life with clarity. And I feel like that's exactly what self compassion does. It doesn't mean like you're patting yourself on the back and thinking, it's okay that I yelled at my kids. I'm human. It's okay that I failed at my goal. I'm human. It's not possible. It's okay. No, instead, you take a step back and you're able to see yourself clearly. And then you're able to actually take responsibility for what you did. And this is an example that I've been thinking about a lot lately with your kids. Say you yell at your kids. Usually it's one of two responses. Seth's face right now.
Yelling
You
at your
never yell at
kids?
your kids. I know it.
Yelling at your kids?
Who does that? So usually it's like one of two responses, right? You think, "Ugh, my kids are so naughty. They're so bad. They're driving me nuts. I wish they would just obey and, you know, be peaceful and kind and stop fighting with each other." So you blame the kids in some shape or form, right? Or you blame yourself. You're like, if I was a better mom, I wouldn't have lost my temper right now. If I was a better mom, they wouldn't be seeking out this attention and, in unhealthy ways. And they wouldn't be fighting because they would have more mom time or whatever it is. Their shame enters because you blame yourself. So you either blame your kids or you blame yourself. But when you apply self compassion, you actually pull yourself back. You look at yourself as a human and you're like, oh, no, actually, I lost my temper on my kids because of A, B, C, and D today. No wonder I lost my temper. That, like, all of the emotions that I'm feeling, it just like I didn't deal with them today. They just kind of stacked on top of each other. Today has been really hard because of this, this, and this. They've been fighting all day. I tried 3 times to be nice to him. Anyway, you just step back and you like look at it like you would be looking at your best friend in that situation.
Mhm.
And then you respond with clarity, like that quote that I just mentioned. And then you're like, okay, now I know what I need to do to not have that happen again. You can take responsibility. I'm going to go apologize to my kids for losing my temper. That wasn't cool. And they didn't need to, that didn't serve a purpose, right? That didn't help the situation, me losing my temper. So I'm going to go apologize to them. And I'm also going to apologize to myself for letting myself get to the point where I lost it. And I'm going to look at the steps that got me there, and I'm going to set some goals and to not repeat that again. And it's all just like this level, calm, peaceful, like shoulders are down, right? You're giving yourself some grace, you're giving yourself some compassion, and it's just diffusing the situation. When you take shame out of the equation, you can actually take accountability. Shame prohibits us from taking accountability from things. And
Mm.
so when you take that shame out and you just see yourself as a human that's not capable of perfection, and that you're going to slip up sometimes and make some mistakes, then you're actually able to uncover those mistakes and figure out how you made that mistake. And then you're able to fix it. And that's how you reach your long-term goals. If one of your goals is to yell at your kids less, that's how you get there, is by looking at yourself and looking at the big picture and taking that whole thing in.
I love how you said if you look at yourself like a best friend and to give yourself that self-compassion. That reminded me of a retreat I went on. It was actually for trauma, a trauma retreat. And she had us bring a picture of ourselves when we were a little girl. And I seriously was like, why? This is so interesting. I'd been on one of her retreats before too. So I'm like, hey, this is totally different than what she's done before. She had us pull it out and actually, I think before she had us pull it out, she said, what are some things you've said to yourself today that probably weren't kind?
Oh,
And then she said, okay, now I want you to pull out that picture of that little girl. Can you say those things to that little girl? And we all, like, even just time, coming up with emotion, like, well, of course I can't. And that really helped me to look at myself as that little girl that still needs that love and that compassion from myself.
yeah. Yeah. When you see it that clear, you're like, why would I talk to myself that way? Like, how do I let myself do it? But we do. We all participate in it. We all have critical voices. And I love that. I might steal that, Steph. That's pretty good.
Do it.
That's pretty good.
It was very powerful, and to see, like, I'm sitting there like in tears, and then I look up and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, so is everybody else." Like, I mean, we all just ended up like sobbing, thinking of all the things that we've said to ourselves, and how we need to do better for that little girl. And
Mhm.
sometimes even, in my day-to-day life, I've actually never said this to you, but sometimes when I start doing that, I think of, "Oh, wait, is that something I would tell that little girl?" And I remember that picture
Mhm.
that I had of myself. Yeah, it's very powerful.
The word that keeps coming to my mind is awareness, becoming self-aware, recognizing yourself in the situation, right? As you're evaluating your day and saying, oh, I did this and this. Wait, and I think awareness is being able to take a step back, right?
Mhm.
And look at the situation from a different perspective, right? And what hit me as you were talking about this, I'm talking about being a parent, and I'm the father of 4 incredible daughters.
Mhm.
And when you get locked into a situation or you start sliding down a hill, right? A little emotional downhill slide, you kind of forget that perspective. And I was just imagining, I'm just thinking about my beautiful girls here. Could I ever sometime you're talking about yelling at your kids or whatever, or you lose your patience with your kids because they darn deserve it, right? Because they're pushing every single one of your buttons. But if I were just to look at my daughter as a picture, right? Not as the person that's doing this, but the picture of her right now at, whichever one, I can't imagine saying that to her. Like it gives me a different perspective on being a dad. I've been a dad for a long time, you know, going on, I don't know, almost 30 years, you know, 27, 28 years, and striving to get better. And just, I don't know. I just want to say thanks. I feel like I have a little more clarity today about myself and about how I want to show up in the world.
Good.
Thank you.
That makes me
Thank
happy.
you. I may be closet, like, listening to all this videos. Seth, what are you doing? I'm doing my self-compassion course.
You can. The principles in the workbook are completely for men too. They're
Of
just,
course.
but I just share my story as a mom. And so, like, it works as for teens, it works for anybody. I just share a lot of mom stories.
I know some people who could use that. Starting with me, right?
So, Brittany, as you've used these tools to coach women in with a growth mindset, how have you used these in, when you have challenges?
Oh man, I use them every day. I just an example from a couple weeks ago that I've been sharing is sometimes, like, I'll lose my cool with my husband, or I'll get really irritated with him. Something that he does irritates me, and I'm like trying to like not lash out at him, right? And cause a fight between the two of us. And so I'm like trying to figure things out. So a few weeks ago, we got some news about some friends getting divorced, and a couple other hard things. I'm an empath, and so I was like taking it all on without realizing I was taking it all on, and without acknowledging that it was actually heavy for me. It was consuming my thoughts. I was trying to like make sense of it, and anyway, it was heavy for me, and I didn't acknowledge. I didn't take the time to acknowledge the weight that it was putting on me. And my husband, I came downstairs. We share an office. We share this office. This is my side, and his side's over there.
Does
And
he have the same background?
no, unfortunately, I think he would look really good with it though.
Probably would.
Anyway, I peeked in. He had been on calls all morning, and I peeked in to see if he was done. And he was like, "Get out!" And I was like, "Oh, how dare you, like, talk to me that way?" Like, I was so offended, and he saw it was me, and he was like, "Oh, sorry," but he's on the phone, so he's like, like, "Sorry," you know? And so I went upstairs, and I was like, "Oh, how dare he? Like, he's gonna hear it. Like, I am so upset. You do not dismiss me like that." And so anyway, but I was, like, trying to control it and, like, not make it ruin my day. And I blew it out of proportion, really, is the answer to it. So he got done with this call. He came and found me and was like, "Britt, I'm so sorry. I totally thought you were one of the kids. The kids had already come in like 5 times while I was on this call. I had told them to get out. I thought you were them again." And so he's like, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have." Like, he apologized. It was really sincere and cute. And I was just like, whatever. Like, I was cold to him. Like, sure, thanks. But I didn't like it didn't solve it for me. I was still irritable. I was still grumpy. And so I finally at that point like was like, I need to take some time and go figure out I need to go be mindful and aware of what's going on inside of me, because I'm feeling a lot of tumult inside. And so I went to my room, took some time, journaled. And I mean, time is in like 10 minutes, right? I'm a busy mama of 5. I don't have that much time. So it was, 10
So it was
minutes.
a timeout. You
It was
sent
a
yourself to
it was a
timeout.
Yeah.
timeout. It was a timeout.
Yes.
And in that time, I just like realized how much of other people's life trials and struggles I had been taking on, and how I hadn't acknowledged that all, for the past few weeks. And once I acknowledged that, like I told you, it happened in the shower this morning. My shoulders dropped. I just felt the peace come when I was like, "Oh, that's why, Brittany. Like, you're not really upset at Ben. Like, he came and apologized for that. And it was an innocent mistake that I can totally see why he did." And all of this, you know, jumble inside of me is actually from something else that now I'm addressing and processing. And so I was able to go talk to my husband and say, "Hey, can I grab you for a sec? You apologized and it was so sincere, and I really appreciated that. I didn't accept it fully at the time, but I went and did some back. And this is actually what's going on with me. I actually have been taking on our friend's divorce and all of these other things, and I haven't been processing them, and I've been taking too much of it on, and blah blah blah." And he was wonderful. He held space for me. He listened as I explained, the feelings. And he was like, "That makes sense. That makes sense." And we were able to connect and have this wonderful moment between the two of us. And it completely avoided a fight. Whereas if that would have happened 6 or 7 years ago, we would have fought. I just would have been quiet for the rest of the day. I would have kind of given them the silent
The
treatment,
silent treatment.
one word answers, right? Communicated when necessary. But I would have
Mhm.
kept internalizing everything. And I actually would have put the blame on him. I would have thought, I'm just mad at him. When really, once I learned the tool of self compassion and awareness and a mindfulness, I was able to back up and be like, he was the trigger, but there was so much underneath it. And we created this beautiful connecting experience out of that. And so that lesson has been something that I've repeated over and over again, where I'm like, okay, I really am not fighting with my husband. Maybe I am sometimes, but 90% of the time it's
Mhm.
actually not. He's just the trigger. And the same thing is true for my kids. Like, 90% of the time, they're just my trigger, but there's all these other things going on underneath it that once I acknowledge those other things, and I'm like, oh, man, I love my kids. I don't want to yell at them. Like they're the sweetest. And yeah, they're pesky sometimes and don't listen the first 5 times that I tell them something, but I love them and I would never want them to, to be scared of me because of
Mhm.
my yelling or different things like that. So anyway, that's one recent example.
That's beautiful. I think you mentioned something, an experience that you had with a teenage daughter. This is not, this is something, like I said, this is for men. This is for, of course, women, but this is probably pretty important that we take this and for ourselves so that we can actually teach our children. Again, generational curses, right? How can we head off at the past, some of the mistakes that we've made so our kids aren't going to go through those same things.
Yeah. I didn't realize the level of self-compassion that my daughter was not experiencing, the level of self-hatred that my daughter was experiencing. She's kind of a chameleon sometimes. She has my husband's crazy confidence, and then other times she has this self-doubt and self-hatred that I'm like, "Wait, where did the confidence go? Like yesterday you were so confident, it was arrogant, and then now today you're talking about hating yourself." I'm like, "I can't keep up." So anyway, yeah, last week she has prom coming up, which is super exciting. But we tried makeup and they weren't the right colors and she felt ugly and she just let it sink her. Instead of using it as an experience, be like, okay, well, I know what colors not to wear that I don't like because she doesn't wear a lot of makeup. And so we were just playing around, right? And testing things out. And it was a day that she didn't have anything else going on. We could wash it all off with a washcloth. It wasn't a big deal, but she let it be a big deal and she let it sink her. And the tears started coming and then the I'm ugly started coming and all of the things that you can imagine started coming. And it was for me, I was like, oh, like you need to see you as I see you. And I started talking to her like, what would you say to your best friend Presley? Like, you wouldn't say all of these things to her. And she's like, no, because I'm not mean. And I'm like, exactly. Like, you're not mean. So why are you being mean to yourself? She's like, because I hate myself. I was like, well, let's work on that a little bit. And so we had a long conversation about self-hatred and you know, where your confidence should come from. It shouldn't be the dress that you put on or the makeup that you put on. It should come from inside and knowing who you are. And you can't have that confidence if you're constantly beating yourself up and finding what's wrong about yourself. So we're on a journey with her. We're starting, but I think teens aren't exempt. It's not just moms that need this or dads, Seth. It's everybody. The teenagers, life is hard in high school and junior high. I can't think of a,
Yeah.
a worse petri dish to be in to try to figure out who you are. And so if
Mm.
we can apply or teach the tool of self-compassion at that age, it can pay dividends in their adult life.
Have you thought about doing, your workbook and the course, specifically do a group for teens
Mhm.
or even like a mother-daughter type of group?
Yep. Yeah, I would love that. The teen one, and even like we were talking about and joking with Seth for men, it doesn't like the principles and the bare bones of the workbook will stay
Mhm.
exactly the same. I think I just want to change a few of the personal stories that are in there to speak to teenagers more than because I talk about being a young mom a lot. And so I think I just want to tweak a few of the stories. So it won't take much to get it to be a teen friendly book. My teenager has done, like, I gave her the workbook. She hasn't finished it yet. And then I actually just gave one to a teenage girl last week or 2 weeks ago. And I'm excited for her to try it too. So it's totally teen friendly, but it does, I do want to tweak a few stories just to make it better, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. That that will be really great. I know our daughters could benefit from it.
Well, I want these tools because obviously I know it'll help me and we all can improve in this. But I really see, as we have these two younger girls, at 6 and 8 today, I want to be better equipped as a more compassionate father and a more understanding advisor and coach to them,
Mhm.
because I feel like that, like they're just because just because we have 10 kids doesn't mean I know crap about parenting. Um, but you're not the same person raising these kids, and they're not any of your other kids.
Mhm.
And I want to make sure that as I see their incredible, strong personalities, uh,
Yeah.
just to help them be compassionate toward themselves when those strong personalities run up to their weaknesses or the frustrations, because I see those emotions coming out and some of that
Mhm.
self-talk. Do you do affirmations? Is that something you've ever participated in, or like how have you approached affirmations? That's something we do personally. We do it in our
Yeah.
family. We do it in our business. We actually that was part of the Van Mulder family speakers was, in fact, Steph led out on that about how you speak to yourself.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I love affirmations. I believe in them wholeheartedly. I participate them and I do them every single day. I have a gratitude journal that part of it is writing 2 affirmations out for myself. And it's interesting, sometimes I stick with an affirmation for a week or a couple weeks, and then other times, it changes daily, and it's just kind of what I feel I need, and it's pretty amazing. So I have in my workbook, there's a whole day that talks about like reframing a situation and then adding an affirmation at the end to it. And so I encourage everybody to, come up and actually when you're first learning about affirmations, sometimes it feels a little unnatural to tell
Yes.
yourself something but if you go over you're like I don't know what affirmation to pick for myself. And so what I found is if you have a list, of several, or if you brainstorm a list, or if you Google a list of affirmations and you just read through, a list of them, one will speak to you, one will kind of hit your soul and you'll be like, that's the one I need right now. That's the one that speaks to me. That's the one that I need to repeat to myself. And then put it up somewhere where you can see it or write it down every day. But yeah, 100%. So that's one of the things with self-compassion is, you are mindful, you're aware first of, you catch yourself when you're speaking critically, and then you're mindful, you let yourself feel your emotions, you reframe, and then you set an affirmation to kind of put yourself in a positive step forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've found that, over the years that I've done I am statements or affirmations that I'll look at my day and I'll see, like, kind of ask myself, what do I need today?
Mm.
If I know I'm doing a podcast, okay, how am I feeling about the podcast? What do I need to tell myself so that I can go into this hole and feeling great? Or whatever is going on that day, and leading out with that affirmation for the day has really helped me. Something else that I learned, I'd been doing affirmations for a really long time, and I was talking to a friend about it probably about a year ago. And she told me that she was just talking to her therapist the other day about this. And her therapist said to combine doing affirmations with a cold shower, because when you're doing the cold shower, you're rewiring your brain and, different things are
It
going on.
hurts. It's uncomfortable. It's like,
And so she told my friend to say these affirmations while you're doing it. And then what it does is it helps your brain to pull those up when you're going through hard things. It
Mm,
just naturally comes. And I was like, oh, I hate cold water. I hate being cold at all, like with a passion. I
same
will say
here.
that I have changed. I've been doing, a lot of cold showers and doing cold plunging and things like that. And I've been super proud of myself getting up to, I think it was like 7 or 8 minutes up to my neck in freezing cold
creek water.
creek water from the
Whew,
runoff of winter.
that's impressive.
And I could have gone longer, but I started hurting. Like my wrist started cramping up and hurting. I'm like, oh, okay, I think it's time to get out. And so I started doing that and doing the affirmations. And I really have noticed that it works, that those affirmations come up when they're needed,
I
when I'm
love
going
that.
through those hard times.
I
So
love that.
The neuroscience there is that when your brain encounters difficult things, and I'm just processing this for self compassion, right? Creating new, basically, you're creating new roads in your brain when you're compassionate with yourself that are way more effective than the current bumpy roads
Mhm.
of what you've been doing, right? And so
mhm.
when we're talking about affirmations, we're talking about doing affirmations. I am brave. I am strong. I am warm, right? While the water is cold, I can do hard things. When we encounter hard things, I was just listening to this the other day because I love neuroscience and neuroplasticity. Uh, when you're doing something hard and you are encountered with a choice, because I want to quit, and you don't, you're basically building a new pathway or a bridge, right? To continue on. When you quit, when you encounter hard things, it's like there's a disconnect, there's a chasm. And so that the next time you come into a hard thing, doesn't have to be the same thing, right? Doesn't have to be the same environment, same situation. Your brain says, oh, yeah, the road stopped here. It's okay, right? There's a chasm here. I don't want to risk it.
That's
If
fascinating.
you'll just do it, you will build a bridge. You'll build a new road. And next time you come on that road, guess what? There's no toll due. You just go right over. And that is the successive and kind of cumulative compound interest, if you will, of neuroscience and changing your brain. And in this case, honestly, to be more self-compassionate. That's what I'm literally so excited because just having a few tools,
Mhm.
right? Even just talking today about being aware and stepping back, and I'm like, it's going to be easier next time, right?
I found the affirmation that I use the most in my life is I am capable.
Mm.
And I took a mountain biking class last summer. My husband loves mountain biking. He's like, I think you would really love it. It's like hiking and biking, which you both love together. He's like, you need to try mountain bike. So I signed up for a women's course. I was scared out of my mind, so nervous, never been well, I take that back. I had gone mountain biking once, and it was years ago. My husband took us to a course. I think it was in Provo. It was a hard course. He had no idea and sends us down it. I flip off, gouge my leg, like blood everywhere. And I'm like, it's okay, kids, just try it. Like, the worst that can happen is you'll bleed. Like, I was horrible. I was trying to be so tough for my kids. Anyway, so that's my previous experience with mountain biking, right? So I take this course, and before, like on the drive up, I'm like, okay, I need an affirmation that I'm going to tell myself when I'm scared, because I'm going to be scared. I'm already scared before I even hop on the bike. And so my affirmation was I am capable, and I just said that over and over and over again. She's like, "Hey, go over this rock, go down this ditch and back up it." And I'm like, "Okay, I am capable." Like, hold on for dear life and go for it. And it changed it for me. It made it so that I was willing to take on a challenge, and said it like, when she was like, okay, you can go up over this rock or you can take this easy way and go around it. And I was like, no, I'm going over the rock because I am
I am
capable.
capable.
I'm capable. I can do this. And so that's kind of been my go-to affirmation, is just reminding myself how capable I am, that I can do it. I can try. I can film, workbook videos. I can write a book. I can do whatever I want if I try for it. I am capable.
I love it. I'm actually shocked to hear that you're like, I had a fear of doing this video. I mean, like I've I'm not one. It is so out of my comfort zone to do this podcast. And I'm growing into it. I'm learning to like it. And, I think it's the connection piece and the learning as I'm going, all that I'm gaining from interviewing people, or having a conversation. Well, I've always struggled, talking. I mean, even in, church and Relief Society, or
Mhm.
I have a hard time even making a comment. My heart will start racing. I get all sweaty, like I can barely breathe. So this has been really big and vulnerable for me to even do a podcast. And if it wasn't Seth being like, "Hey, I really think we should do this. I feel like God is asking us to do this." I probably wouldn't have. In fact, at the beginning, I think I was like, "No, no, I don't think so." Like, it doesn't sound fun, which is like my go-to. I love having fun. There had been times, depending on who is our guest, that I'm like, that self-compassion has to come in, because I'm like, well, we'll take you for example. You've done a lot of filming and a lot of, your the Brave Talk Show podcasts, and um, different things like that. So, sometimes I find myself being like, well, you're just a greenie. You don't know what you're doing. But, the guest that you're having on here has had so much experience. And so I have to pull myself back and say, well, at one point, I bet they were greenies too. and have to, give myself that self-compassion and to know that, if I continue to press forward that I am going to grow and do better and be more comfortable with it and myself and being so vulnerable. I think is one of the biggest things for me is I can get vulnerable with just like a few people, maybe even a dozen, but like when there's, I don't know, 50 people, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe I shouldn't say anything, I'm really surprised and it makes me feel a little better to know that, you had some fear behind doing your videoing for the workbook.
Yeah, it always requires some affirmations and building myself up, listening to a pump up song or something like
Uh-huh.
that to like get me in the right headspace where I'm like, I can do this.
Yes.
I think that, you know, as we've worked with people literally all around the world and in the entrepreneurial setting primarily for 20 years and having had created like a truly a way beyond average success, and people come to us to talk to us about that, right? You become, I mean, it's like you, I mean, like you are our pillar for self-compassion. Well, we got Jesus, and then you're later in the conversation we got Brittany Crane,
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
but no, truly, we see you as a mentor and a coach. It's going to bless
Mhm.
our lives, and that you got it all together, and as you work with people, or as we coach people in the entrepreneurial field, they're really surprised. They're always surprised because I'm super vulnerable. Like I'm super open with people. Wow, you're just a normal person. Like I don't want to say normal. Wow, you feel the same things that I feel. You have the same
Amen.
struggles that I have, right? They look at a successful business and they think, oh yeah, everybody just loves you and says yes.
Mhm.
No, what you've got to understand is more people have told us no than you can even imagine right now, but it was worth it. And we took it one lesson, one stumble, one failure, one affirmation at a time, and just had to do a lot of that. So yeah.
I love that.
Mhm.
And you're a pro. You're really a pro. You're
Thank
amazing.
you. Thank
I
you.
think I think Stephanie's built for this because even more so than maybe I am, because she is truly one of the most compassionate people that I have ever met in my life. And both of you being empaths, by the way, it's like a meeting. I was going to say a meeting of the minds, but it's more like a meeting of the emotions, a meeting of the energies.
Yeah, Steph, I was going to say, from what I've known about you, you put people at ease and make them your friend very quickly. And
Oh,
that is an amazing skill to have as a podcast host.
thank you. That you'll never know what that means to me. I look up to you a lot. So hearing that from you, I feel seen is one thing. I feel like that is something that I strive to do and I feel like I am good at it. But then to have
You
someone
are.
like you say that and validate it is really big. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's the truth.
Thank you.
Amen. I second and ratify that vote. Boom.
How can women balance physical health, mental health, and self care in their daily lives?
Find something that works for all three. I think that's the short, simple answer. I know for me, physical health affects my mental health. And so I often use my self care time to work on my physical health. Just last night on my Brave Talk Show podcast, we were talking about how we've all been doing with our self care, and I'm like, honestly, I haven't been doing great at my self care, but I haven't completely abandoned it. One of my self care things that's a non negotiable every day is working out, is moving my body in some way. And the days that I lift heavy weights, for me, it's just like this immediate empowerment where I'm like, yes, I can do hard things. I can lift up this bar, then I can do hard things mentally too. And it's not even something that I have to like mentally think about. Like, I lifted this bar, so I can do this other thing. Like, if I ever have a hard time, I can remind myself of that. But for me, like, it's so natural now for me on the days that I lift weights and I move my body. I just have a better day that day. My
Mhm.
attitude is better. My perspective is better, where I'm like, yeah, bring it on. Like I've got, I've already worked out and done these hard things this morning. I bring on whatever the day has for me, right? Like I have more energy for the day, and it's mental for me. So it's that moving your body really is important. And I think, you know, our culture is so set on our appearance and so focused on our appearance that we're missing out on the benefits of physical fitness on your mental game,
Mhm.
on your mental health. We see working out as a punishment because you're overweight, or we see working out as a means to get skinny
Mm.
or to fit into clothes, or whatever it is, look a certain way, right, that the
Yeah,
media tells us is beautiful. And when we do that, we rob ourselves of the mental benefits of moving your body. And naturally, when you have a fit body, you're able to chase your dreams. And I think that's one of the biggest blessings a fit body has given me, is that I have the energy in the body to chase my dreams. I'm not sick. I'm not dealing with health issues because and not able to, go after and pursue things because my body's holding me back, if that makes sense.
absolutely. Absolutely. That's definitely something that I've had to I'm still on a journey of, healing my body, and that's probably I'd say my number one complaint sometimes, is just, "Oh, I want to do this." Okay. Then I have to like step back. So that's really good at grounding me and helping me step back. Okay, but what can you do today? You know, like
Mm,
like just before, the podcast, well, a couple hours ago, I was like, "Oh, I probably should go on a walk." But I don't know, and then all the different things come in the head like, well, usually I take the girls so that we can do it together and get out together. And, but, and Seth is just really good at encouraging me. Stephanie, I think you should take that walk. I think it would be good for you. So I'm like, okay. So, I did the walk and I came back and did a little weeding along the way. And it really helped me to feel amazing physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, like in all aspects. And I'm like, oh, that's right. Okay. This is why I do it, to help myself feel better and feel like I can accomplish those things that I do have in front of me. And on some
I
days,
love that.
more. So did you hear about talking about, media and how just how focused on image they are? Did you hear about when Encanto came out and how Disney I don't think it was Disney, but anyways, or whomever it was that was producing, the dolls and the different figurines and different things from the movie. Somebody, am I telling this right? I have
I
to
don't know. Sounds
remember.
good. We'll publish it.
So they were going to Disney and saying, we'd like to do, I can't even remember what her name is. The sister, our daughter likes to
Mhm.
call her the strong one. So I don't remember what her name is. Is
I know who you're talking
We
about.
just
Yeah.
call her the strong one.
it
Hey,
strong one?
we listened to that
Very
soundtrack like 17,000 times. Love it. Love it. And we could all sing it. But she's like, can you play the strong one song? Right?
Yeah,
I
even
love
to the point where I'm like going to Alexa and being like, Alexa, play the strong one. Oh, wait, what is it called?
that.
Because I'm like, that's not
Hey,
even.
Alexa might know strong one and content.
I think after a while she did. But anyway, so they were, saying that they wanted to produce, or I'm sorry, they wanted to make her, really strong, and they were hesitant, and they went ahead and let her, be the strong one in the movie. And then later they were doing dolls of these different sisters, and they did a bunch of the pretty one, the flowery
The flower
sister.
girl. Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
and they ended up finding out that more of the kids wanted the strong one. And I was so excited to hear, that we're taking a turn with our kids, and how the kids, I mean, some of them obviously want the pretty one or want that too, but the most popular one was the strong
I
one.
love that. I hadn't heard that before, and I absolutely love that.
Wow. Brittany, you are incredible. This has been an incredible conversation, and we're excited and honored to be proponents in whatever way we can with our voice, however big or small, but resonant, uh, to share this message, because it is something that could literally change the world.
Thank you for letting me share my message. Thanks for asking me to be on here and giving me a place to share my voice. It means a lot to me, and I know I could talk forever, so I appreciate your time.
Okay, we like long episodes actually.
That's true.
So
We could talk forever.
it's actually good for YouTube. Like, do you have anything on YouTube right
The
now?
podcast, my podcast is also on YouTube.
Okay. So, is it a video podcast?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay, beautiful, beautiful. So, we work with a coaching company, content coaching company out of Vegas, in a coaching program that they have, and we were originally talking about, well, let's keep our episodes short, right? Keep them short because people are busy, and we've actually had some feedback prior to starting the show, from some of our target audience. One woman in particular is like, "Hey, just get in, get the story, get out. I'm a busy lady, right?" um, and that's what you and Steph should consider, which is totally valid. And yet, on the other hand, there's this idea that, listen, if you're in a long, beautiful conversation with a friend, like you don't put time limit on your friend most of the time, right? Like you make space, right? You make space for that conversation. And what are we looking to create? We're looking to create community. And does community look like, okay, we got 12 and a half minutes to get this in, get this out, let's tell this story, right? Or, I'm sorry, we're at a 30-minute episode, and like there are all different kinds of strategies, right? But our content coaching company said, listen, here's the deal. We were going to start making shorter stuff. And by the way, this creator has over a million hours last year, a million views. Pardon me, a million hours viewed
That's
content,
amazing.
right? Business world. I had said, well, if we have long episodes, maybe we should split them up because we can record less. I mean, we're busy parents. We're building a business. We're in the ministry, right? Doing an hour long podcast, or 45-minute podcast every week. That's a lot. Maybe we should do them every other week, and then we'll do them for an hour and a half, and then they'll be 40 minutes. And they said, we totally don't recommend that from a reach standpoint, because YouTube specifically, and that's why we're doing a video podcast as well, YouTube wants long. The number one metric, and this is kind of back to your talk about Instagram, right? Because we
Mhm.
have the same thing. We're seeking to grow our voice, to enlarge the footprint, impact more people. And sometimes you feel like the algorithm hates you. Like, Allie is her name. Allie is not your best friend, right?
Oh, that's amazing.
She's that girl in high school who totally ignores you or hates on you. Anyway, the idea was, no, longer is actually better. And maybe everybody doesn't want your full episode, but do you want people watching a bunch of short stuff, or do you want people staying for dinner? You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And so we've had fun. I mean, we have one episode that's one under an hour, but we run an hour, and a half on every one of these episodes. And and the more it's watch time. We want people to you want people to stay with that conversation. You want people to have a friend. You want them to have community.
I love
So
that.
we'll hop on, and we just tell people, listen, you drive to work. In fact, we were on I was on the phone today with Terry from Houston, right? She reached out
Yeah,
to me,
that's
and
great.
she's got this hour. She's in Houston, and she said, she's about retirement age, and she just wants to retire and be happy and do something she loves and make enough money. But she's in this job; it's paying her, well enough. But she's got like an hour plus commute, I think, each way.
Wow.
And so she
Oh,
leaves early and gets home late. And she says, "Seth, I leave to work, and I'm angry, and then I come home. By the time I get home, I'm angry." And I just said, girlfriend, you need to put the Forever Young Show podcast, or you put the Brave Talk show on, right? And you travel with some friends, you have a conversation with your friends while you're in that
yeah.
long commute.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that was good
It's
advice.
it's so funny. So I went to the temple with my ministering sister the other day. Afterwards, we went out to dinner. We were talking, and I was like, "Hey, have you checked out our podcast? I don't know if I've told you." And she's like, "Yeah, I think you've talked to me about it, but I haven't checked it. I'll listen to it on the way home." how long is it? Is it, like shorter or is it longer? I was like, no, it's long. And because I mean, we were only like, I don't know, 12 minutes from home or something. And she was like, well, like how long? And so I told her, and she's like, how do you talk that long?
She's like, you know, my husband.
No, well, I mean, I talk a lot too, but it's really interesting because I've had a few people say that to me, and it's typically women that I talk to, and we've just had like an hour or 2 hour conversation. And so I'm like, I think even myself included at the beginning, like, you don't really realize that a podcast is just conversation between
Mhm.
people. And so it actually can be very easy to go
Oh,
for an
yeah.
hour.
I
Uh,
honestly, I honestly, I mean, you know, Joe Rogan and some of his shows are, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. And people are listening to them because they're making them part of their lives. They want to be part of that
mhm.
conversation. Once you're in a community, right? And you think we're only publishing this once a week right now. Right? That's an hour and a half. We've been here about an hour and 46 of running time, but the episode itself.
Mhm.
And then we'll release a little private content that not everybody gets. That's only for people on our email list, just kind of some of the
Nice.
back conversation. But that's only an hour and a half a week. That's that's going to take us a long time to get to 1,000,000 hours. So I mean, we could have talked about like we
Well,
talked about like four things on the list, right? And
yeah.
Mhm.
could have just spent more time, which means we may have to have round two
I would love
with
that.
Get Out There Girl. But
Brittany Crane.
oh, is that her name?
No, it's Get Out, Girl.
Get out, girl. I didn't even realize that it had that meaning. I was thinking more of like get out, like you're getting out. No, it's like get out, girl.
Just get out.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, I get it all the time, and I'm like, "That's rude." Actually, when you think about it, you're telling me to get out. Like, that's mean. And then I
Oh,
just laugh and am sarcastic about it. It's pretty fun.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
How,
thank you.
when, by the way, when is the
The launch?
the launch
Do you have a
of
date?
I don't know yet.
okay.
It's so close. It's so close, but um, I have a couple tweaks that I'm waiting for my husband to help me with,
Mm.
and it's a little bit hard to get his attention. So,
How how is his homestead show? How's that going? Have they launched that yet?
no, but they did announce yesterday the date, so it's gonna launch December 20th. So
Oh, okay. A
that's
little ways
really
away.
exciting. So
Yeah.
that's gonna be a big deal. So we're happy to have a date for that one.
Yes. Yes. Where are they doing that? Like, where is it going to be shown?
I actually don't know where they're gonna have, like, the red carpet premiere. I know they'll do some smaller VIP showings here in Utah before the actual release in theaters, but I don't know where they're gonna do the red carpet. I'm secretly hoping, or not so secretly, hoping that they'll do it in Tennessee. They've done some red
Oh,
carpet things there, so I'm like, "That's my chance to go to Tennessee when I've never been there," so
yeah.
That's our
we'll
chance to
see.
go again as roadies.
Yeah, yeah, I'll get you tickets.
Yeah.
So
Well, when you go to Tennessee, there's one specific place that you have to go for breakfast if you can. We
okay.
found it the last day and it was absolutely incredible. Like one of the best cinnamon rolls that we've ever had in our life. And my mom makes incredible homemade cinnamon rolls. So this is saying something.
Okay.
So we're talking about comfort food here, Brittany.
I
Like
mean,
comfort food,
is
like
there any other
southern
food? Yeah.
southern
Right?
comfort food, right?
Um,
So like do you like biscuits? Do you like can you get into biscuits? Like really good like no.
so I love biscuits and I love cinnamon rolls, but I'm actually allergic to gluten. I think my 5th baby
Oh,
gave me that allergy, and so I
oh
am
no.
not biscuit friendly at the moment.
We'll have to see if I think they might have
You
had a
can shed some
gluten-free
tears for
option.
me if you want because it's so sad.
Well, next
Yeah.
time, yeah, that is sad. But I guess I
Something to
will
make
eat
on
your
our brain.
portion next time I go there. Uh, that's the
There's
kind of
a plan.
compassion that I have. Anyway, it was this place called Biscuit Love, which is the
My
most
husband will go,
amazing.
well, I'm sure they'll have other things for me, and my husband can enjoy the biscuits, so
Actually, I think everything in Tennessee is gluten filled. I don't think there's. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm like, "What?"
Terrible, terrible. That's
So
that's
rude.
this.
I'm gonna have to bring a suitcase of my own food.
You and Trader Joe's. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you,
We know you
Brittany.
charge like $5,000 an hour normally, so getting us in, we're very, very grateful. You've been awesome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate you. And cut. It's a wrap.
Thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for sharing this episode with that one friend who needs this conversation. Thank you for all the ratings, the reviews, the comments, and especially the support. We so appreciate you.
Now, if you want to take a peek behind the curtain and be the first to know about special previews, backstage updates here at the show, and especially some private collection content that doesn't come out in the regular show,
Be sure to join our VIP community at theforeveryoungshow.com.